Hey, before we start today's episode, I just wanted to take a second and thank everybody who has been listening. This has been such a wonderful journey, and I'm so grateful for everybody who has been hosted on our show and everybody who's listening to the show. I never would have imagined that it would have grown to this type of volume, and that wouldn't have happened without you. So right off the bat, I just wanted to say thank you and say how grateful I am for you for listening. I also want to say with this episode, our audio quality is not the best. I had to use a stream of audio that doesn't give me the best sound, so I apologize for that. The content is absolutely amazing, so we're definitely going to not sit on this. We're going to release it. This is an episode with Jeremy Herider. I hope you get a lot from this. You can find him by Googling Optimal Self. You will find him in all kinds of different platforms. I highly encourage you to do that. And without further ado, here's this wonderful episode with Jeremy Herider. Welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. Jeremy Herider is a three-sport professional athlete, productivity coach to several Fortune 500 companies, and life coach, among many other titles. He is the pioneer of Optimal Self Incorporated and spends every day following the very habits he promotes through this program. He is the host of the Optimal Self with Jeremy Herider podcast, The Art of Becoming the Best Version of You. The show has now over 100 5-star reviews. Jeremy has helped thousands of people become the best versions of themselves through Optimal Self, and he's done so with the belief that every high-performing individual follows those same basic habits to support their success. Jeremy Herider, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Casey. Thanks. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, that was a pretty cool intro. 3 professional sports. The first thing that comes to my mind is, man, that guy is lucky. How do you handle the term luck in your life?
Oh man, you're going right after like the punch, right? Like, well, first of all, I don't believe in luck. It's one of the biggest things that, when people in my life have ever said like, oh man, you're so lucky. It sends like this absolute chill down my spine. I'm like, what do you mean? But don't get me wrong. We are fortunate at times and every individual has their own things that they must deal with. But as far as the success, and let me put it to you this way, everything that you just said, and, when you get to have a bio, when you get to my age and people say the things that you've done or, the achievements that you've had, it's funny because, and I was telling you this pre-show, is that when people talk about those things, almost all of the things that were athletic endeavors actually were failures in my eyes, right? Like being a professional baseball player, my goal, or what I wanted to be was a Hall of Famer and spend 20 years in the big leagues and, have kids have my poster on their wall like I did when I went in. And none of that happened. None of it. I became a professional athlete. Yes, I got to play baseball. Yes, I got to play for the Reds and the Diamondbacks and was an all Pac-10 infielder at Gonzaga and things like that have a little accolades and some outer success to it. But I got nowhere near what I wanted to do. Fast forward into being a professional CrossFitter, right? Getting paid to work out. And I wanted to be the world champion. I wanted to be the fittest man on earth for my age division. And, that didn't happen. Yeah. I won an event and got to celebrate that and got to be number 1 in the world in the deadlift box jump event, but I was nowhere, not even close, man. I got, I didn't get there. Let's just put it this way. I wanted to be the world champion and it didn't happen. So when you look at those things, when you look at the smaller pieces, or you look at the accolade or the bio, it does look and sound. It sounds wonderful when you say it. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's pretty cool. Wow, okay, that's cool. But truth is, they all just were lessons for me. They were all just different lessons that I had to learn. Right, I had to fail there to make my next step. I had to fail again to take my next step. I had to, and again, I talk about this all the time, with optimal self. It's the art of becoming the best version of you. It's not my version. I don't have some life in a box that we're going to give you and everybody's going to be the same. I believe the exact opposite. I believe that we are all unique individuals. We all have our own, we have our own fingerprint. That's yours. Nobody else has that one. No one. No human ever born has that. The same thing I believe is inside, that we have a unique blueprint inside of us that at a very young age usually gets stifled. It usually gets pushed down. It usually gets told, hey, nope, just go to school and get a job and bide your time and watch Netflix and sit on your couch and just do as you're told, right? Get up at 8, go to work, go to lunch when they tell you, come home, go to happy hour with your friends, drink all weekend so that you can hate Mondays and blah, 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 right? Like it's horrible, but it's conditioning. And it's how we are conditioned until we go, wait, hold on a second. I get to choose this. I get to write this story. I get to be the architect of my future. And the moment that if we can help people understand that and give them little pieces so that they can build their confidence, right? Little tiny habits, not the big ones, right? Not some crazy, Elon Musk style world, right? Like I get it. I love it. I'm proud of them. But again, if you break it all the way down, it's the little tiny steps to get there, right? And those are the things that we want to discuss and we want to help people with, right? But I want it to be you being the best version of you, not your mom's version, not your dad's version, not your 6th grade teacher's version, not whoever's version. I want it to be yours. Can we create that? Can we start to dig into ourselves and truly create that kind of life for individuals? Because I believe it's possible.
Man, I love that so much. I wanted this episode to be really special, and I really wanted it to help people, and you're the perfect person to invite. And for the very first time, I want to do a dedication on this episode. I want to dedicate this episode to anybody out there, any listeners who heard that bio and thought, man, that's cool. That's really good for him. I could never do that. I could never achieve all that. Maybe they failed a diet program in the past or a workout program. Maybe they had a business that they opened and then had to close. Maybe they, wanted to start a mindfulness practice and just can't get it off the ground. If you can relate to that as a listener, this episode is for you. And I want you to understand that there are failures and learning and growth for all of us to get to a certain area. And it's not out of reach. It's not out of touch. And I hope that's a really empowering message. And again, you're the perfect person to invite on to help inspire and empower anybody who feels stuck. I really would love to talk about your childhood and growing up and getting interested in sports and some of the failures and lessons you learned along the way there.
Yeah. So with your dedication, do not let us leave here today. We'll go to my childhood and we'll talk a little bit about that right now, but mark this on your notes for the listeners that we have to talk about belief. Okay. For what you just said. Okay. And we'll go deeper into that. Stick around, peeps. We'll go deeper into that. Okay. So, I grew up my mom was 16 when I was born. And I was born in 1971, just so that was not cool then. There weren't MTV shows to be a pregnant mom at 16, right? It wasn't like you weren't going to get, the cover of People magazine. Like it was the exact opposite. And I have a very big, strong Italian Catholic family. And so you can imagine how that sat on there, unmarried, right? You can just imagine what that was like. So, she went through some really trying times for herself to have to make a decision of what am I going to do? Right. And luckily amazing. My grandparents were amazing, Nana and Papa, both, God rest both their souls today. But in those days, man, Nana stood up and said, hey, well, we got this, let's do it. So, she did end up marrying my birth father, who is an alcoholic, drug addict. He was abusive mentally and physically. So she got us out of there. I had a little brother. They had a second child together, my little brother. And And so she got us out of there very early. Thank God. I mean, again, strong women. I love it. She was strong enough to stand up. She was mom and dad most of the time in my life. And so, her taking a stand for us to say, yeah, this isn't okay. And this isn't how my kids are going to grow up was a huge step. And again, it was hard because now she financially, I mean, you can imagine we struggled and we had to fight tooth and nail, and, we survived it, but that's what we were doing. We were surviving. And,
wow.
But I would say my grandparents were wonderful. My mom has only sisters. So I grew up with all women, and it's something today. And then, God blessed me with only daughters. So it's a crazy thing to say, but man, I have such this affinity for strong, powerful women. And at the same time, empowering them myself is because that's what I want. I want those girls to always understand that they're strong enough that they could be anything they want. So that was my childhood. Really, it was just, bouncing around. We lived with my grandparents for a while. We lived in and out, all those kind of things. But the one thing that was a constant, and my mom will tell you, is that, man, I was always grabbing a bat or a ball, and I was running around and breaking things and throwing balls through windows. And, she still says, I think my first word was baseball. So, luckily
mine was basketball. That's so funny.
Yeah, there you go. See, so, and that's all I ever wanted to do, honestly. And when you're young, think about it this way. When you're young, even now, if those of you that are listening, you have a kid that's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they go, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, I want to be a baseball player. I want to be a basketball player, whatever. Everybody thinks it's really cute. Right. And then when you're like 16, 17, and you're like, what are you going to do? And you're like, I'm going to be a baseball player. And they're like, oh yeah, it's not so cute anymore. You might need to, get a job.
Learn math.
Yeah, you might want to, grab a book, so, and I can say this throughout my entire life is that there were many, many, many people who didn't believe that I would make it. I just wasn't one of them. It didn't matter what they thought. It didn't matter what they wanted. It didn't matter to me. Like, I want people to think about it this way, and maybe this will help, is that, even as a kid, you want validation, right? You want people to like you. You want acceptance. It's part of, Maslow, the hierarchy of needs, right? We need the security, and then we need love, and we need all these things. But I can honestly say to you that it was never for me about getting somebody's validation or somebody, like, I didn't really care whether they believed in me or they didn't believe in me. It just didn't matter. And I say this a lot now, is that I think because most of it was, I knew that it was just their opinion, right? We want validation and acceptance. We want that person to love us, or we want that person, like, okay, if I become really good at baseball, then my dad will be a better guy. Right. And there was probably senses of that, but I knew early on, like, that was never going to happen, and I also want people to know this, is that I wasn't the best kid. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the biggest. You guys know this, all of you listening, you remember that kid that was 10 or 12 years old, that was a grown man, right? A beard, could hit the ball out of the park with nothing. I wasn't that kid. Let's be clear. I didn't make all-star teams. I didn't get chosen high when people would be picking teams. That wasn't me. You wanted me on your team because you knew I was going to be there. I was going to play hard, and I was going to, and I was going to play baseball well. Right. But I wasn't this ultra talented kid. I was super small, man. I was a little guy. And I'll tell you, because I think it's helpful for the listener to get, we all have paradigm shifting moments in our lives. And a lot of times we miss them, but I want to share one that's really important for me. And I think it'll help people when I tell you that I didn't make all-star teams, and that, that I wasn't the best kid. Right. And so get all the way fast forward now to my 13-year-old year. Right. And my my best friend's dad was our coach. Like, and I'm talking about friends, like, I went on vacation with him. We had sleepovers all the time, him at my house, me and his, you know what I mean? Like, he was a pseudo dad for me, right? He would pick me up when I didn't have a ride, things like that. Okay. And we won the championship that year. Our team was the champion. And here's the deal. The championship team, the coach of the championship team gets the all-star team. He's the coach of the all-star team. He gets to pick the last 2 kids. So all the other coaches get together and they pick the all-star team. But that coach, because he's forming out the team and he's going to coach them, he gets to pick the last 2 kids. And here we are going to closing ceremonies. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, this is my year, right? Like, hell yeah, we won the championship. He's like a dad to me, right? Like he's for sure picking me, for sure. This is my year, man. Like, let's go, right? And we get there and I'm so excited, man. I had, I've already, we all do this. I've already played the narrative in my head, man. I can already hear the name being called and, being excited. Like it's already played out. Well, the names get called. And those 15 names get called, and mine is not one of them. And I was crushed. 13 years old. Those of you got that little boy was crushed. And after that, there's a pizza party, right? Because it's the end of the year and the whole team gets together. We won the championship. We got our trophies and, the whole team goes over. And I walked over to him in the pizza parlor. And he was standing over by himself watching a game. And I tugged on his shirt and he looked down at me and he said, "Yes, son." And I said, how come you didn't pick me? How come I didn't make all-stars? I'm going to tell you this, Casey, and I want everyone to know, don't go, is I can tell you to this day what he was wearing, what I was wearing. I can tell you the smells. I can tell you the sounds. I can tell you every single thing. I can still see the wrinkles on his face staring at me right eye to eye. And he looked me dead in the eye. And he said, "Because you weren't good enough." Now, again, all the parents out there, I know what that sounds like. And yes, I was like, right? Take your breath away moment of your life. And I'm looking at him and I'm trying not to cry. And he puts his arm around me, right? And he's watching the game. And as things start to settle, I just kind of moseyed away, went over into the corner because I couldn't hold it in. I started crying. I was devastated. I ran to the front, asked the lady to call my mom, right? In those days, no cell phones in those days. So she got to reach the cord over and hand it to me and dial the number for me. And my mom, I'm like, "Mom, you got to come pick me up." And she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Please come pick me up. Please, 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 please." She's like, "You're supposed to stay the night. It's a sleep." I said, "Please, Mom, just come. Please. Please." She's like, "Fine, I'm on my way." So I hand her back the phone. I don't even go back inside where everybody is. I literally go out the front door and I sit on the curb, wait for my mom. And my mom pulls up, jump in the car. And at that moment, like the floodgates just went, like every emotion that you could possibly have. Right. And I'm like, the sobbing, breathing, right, where they can't even take a breath. And my she's like going crazy. She's like, "What in the hell is going on? What is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong? What is wrong?" And so I get so I tell her, and like any parent, those of you that are, she's like, "Wait, what? He said what to Mike? Oh, let's son of a, and she's pulling into the thing. And I'm like screaming, "Please, please, please, please don't go. Please don't go."
Mama bear.
Right. She's going to protect that cub. She's going in there to swinging. Right. I'm like, "Please, Mom, please. I'm embarrassed. Please. Can we just go? I just want to go. I just want to go." And here's the point is this. My mom said something to me in that moment, and I don't know if she knew what she was doing. To tell you the truth, I've told this story before and she doesn't even remember it. It was not that life-changing in hers. It was a paradigm shifting moment in my life. And I said, "Please, Mom, don't go inside there. Please, I'm begging you." And she said, "Fine." And it got really quiet in the car. And she looked at me and she said, "You don't want me to go inside?" I said, "No, Mom, please don't." And she said, "Then what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do?" Right? You can sit here. She didn't say it, but I can sit there and cry. I can sit there and say, "Woe me." But I don't know that she knew what she was doing in that moment. I don't. But that question, I still ask myself today, every time shit gets hard, every time moments are not going my way, I literally say, "Okay, not going our way. All right, we're getting our ass kicked. What are you going to do about it? You going to sit down? You going to lay here in bed? You going to pull the covers up and hope it didn't happen? What are you going to do? And so in that moment, just like now, when I say it to myself, this complete calm went over my body. My entire emotional state changed instantly because she made me think, what are you going to do? And all of a sudden I could breathe. All of a sudden I was and I looked at, I said, Mom, can we go to Big Five? So those listening, if you're all over the world, just imagine it's the huge sporting goods store back in those days in Southern California, right? You could see Dick's or some of those big ones that are today, just to give you guys some context. And so she's like, looks at me, Kate, she looks at me, she's like, what the hell is that Big Five? Like any mom, right? She's like, you want to go get some ice cream? Let's go get a toy. Like, what, like any young boy, or kid would want, right? Like, let's just mask it with some distraction. We'll get you some gummy bears or whatever. Right. And so she's like, all right, fine. It's not very far. So we pull in and we go inside, and just like I can tell you what he was wearing and all that, I can tell you the same thing. I can tell you exactly. Walk over to the baseball. I drag her over to the baseball section. And as we're walking down the aisle, all of them are white with the prices on them. And there's one yellow one. And I look up and I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, I want that, Mom. And I'll tell you, it was a yellow sign, said on sale, said $19.99, $19.99. And she's like, what in the hell is that? And I'm like, it's a batting tee, Mom. It's a batting tee. She's like, and I know you, look, any parent out there, if I said right now, your kid is like, going to stop crying, going to not be upset, and you just pull this thing off and hand it to them, and they're like happy as can be. You're like, all right, done deal, right? Like fixed. Okay. So she grabs the tee. We get it. We go home. And that day I went outside and I pulled that thing apart and I built it. And I promised myself from that day forward, I'm going to hit 100 balls off that thing every single day, because I am going to be good enough. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know, but I know this. I'm going to hit these balls every single day. I used to go out and I would go out there in the rain. I would use tennis balls because they would soak up the water better, right? So I could save my baseballs,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And it became something. I mean, before church, it didn't matter. Like whatever we were doing, I was going out there and I was hitting those balls. But I want people to understand is this. One is, when your things are tough, definitely ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? But the other thing that I want people to realize is there's a couple really important points that came about from that. Because the next year I didn't make All-Stars either. And the next year I barely made the high school team, barely, did not play much, got more, I was like the water boy more than I was, playing in the field. By the time I got to my sophomore and junior year, I was a little bit better, starting to play more. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I led the team in hitting. I was the MVP of the team. I was the first league player, was the only kid on that team to get a scholarship to go play baseball. And I made the All Valley All-Star team. First time I ever made a true All-Star team.
Wow.
And it was the biggest one that's in this. This is like all the schools, right? This is thousands of kids, right? And they have an East and a West. And I got chosen for that team. You get your thing in the paper, a big profile, like all those kind of things. But like I said, from 13 to 18, most of those years, nothing changed that much. The only thing that was stayed constant is I was out there hitting balls and throwing balls off that wall every single day. You couldn't get me out of there. They'd be like, oh my God, you're out there again. Oh, the neighbors would be pissed because I had to actually build a way for it not to hit the wall anymore, because they started complaining because I started to get better and the ball started hitting harder. Right. And so, you hear it all the time, but it's a very true statement, is that we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in the next 5 or 10 years. And that's the difference, is that I didn't go out there expecting tomorrow that I was going to hit home runs. Just went out there and kept doing it. And I fell in love with the process. I fell in love. I still, to this day, I love that. I still have that tee today. When I would move, I would keep it with me. It's a symbol. It's a symbol to me today of what we can do, what I am capable of if I'm willing to put in the work. And the other lesson that I want people to hear in that story is this: think back to what I said. I had a narrative in my head that I was going to get chosen because he liked me, because he was my pseudo dad, right? You never heard me say, I never even didn't even have in the narrative that I deserved it, that I had worked hard, that I prepared, that this was I didn't have those words. The words were basically, I was expecting him to give it to me because he likes me, because somehow, some way, our team won the championship. And now that somehow made it. I mean, I want people to understand that's not how it works. That's not how life works. Life is not. And a lot of us fall into that because then I become the victim, right? It's, oh, he didn't pick me. Oh, he doesn't like, oh, it's their fault that I didn't make it. No, you want to know the truth? The truth is there are 12 or 15 teams in this league. There's 120 or 50 kids and 15 make the all-star team. And if we can all take responsibility for ourselves for a second, and I can look at it and I can look at it objectively, guess what? Those 15 kids, he's right. They were better than me. So even if I'm the 16th best kid, I'm not good enough for that team today. But here's the thing. He didn't say I would never be good enough. Today, at 13, with 150 kids in this league, we got the 15 best kids. That's what you have to understand. We all have to understand that you might not be good enough today. Doesn't mean you won't be good enough ever. What are you willing to do? And what are you going to do about it? And when we look at it from that, again, now objectively, I didn't have those thoughts at that age. I just knew I never wanted somebody to tell me that again. So I was just going to go out and get better because I wanted no one to ever say you're not good enough. So I'm just going to go get better and see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know which door is going to open. I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't. But what I can tell you is without fail, when I have consistency to an action over time, the result is inevitable. The time is the variable that people miss. They want it tomorrow. They want to jump down right now, right? And do 100 sit-ups. And they ate egg whites and avocados one day, and they want to go rip up their shirt and hope there's a six-pack there. That's not how it works. That's not how anything in life works. That's right. No success is that way, right? It takes consistency to an action over time. It's a math problem. It is. But the time is the variable. Are you willing to give it the time? And again, that became my life. It became that's what I wanted. And I loved it. It got me a scholarship. It got me to college. It got me to tour the world playing baseball. There's some amazing things. I met some of my best friends, some of my business partners today come from my baseball world, right? That does nothing to do with baseball, but it opened other doors. So again, what action can you get consistent to that even if there's not that being the result? See, the result wasn't a Hall of Famer. The result wasn't a pension from Major League Baseball where I'm sitting back, it wasn't. That's not what happened. But I will tell you this, the lessons along the way taught me and opened up other doors that I never even thought of. And that's the steps that we get to take. So if you learn anything through this, is that it doesn't matter where you are right now. None of it doesn't. But do whatever you're doing the best that it can possibly be done. Doesn't matter. If you're, I had this kid that I was coaching and he was in real estate because I have a real estate company and real estate business. And I was coaching this kid, 24 years old, got kicked out of the house the moment he turned 18. Like he had really tough time, but he was fighting, man. He was a fighter, good kid, good heart. And he comes to me and says, "Hey, you're probably not going to want to coach me anymore." And I said, "Well, okay. Why would that be? Are you getting out of real estate?" And he said, No. I'm still going to do real estate, but I'm struggling financially and I got to take a job. And I said, "Okay. Are you getting out of real estate?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, then what are you talking about?" I said, "Well, because now I'm going to have to be part-time and I'll have to give my time somewhere else." I said, time is relative, my friend. And I want people to understand this. And so I said, I will keep coaching you, but on one condition and one condition only. When you go, he got a job at Staples. He said, when you go to Staples, right? Cause he's like, I gotta get a paycheck. I said, okay. But if you go there just to get a paycheck, I'm not coaching you anymore. You're right. We're done. But if you'll go there and whatever they ask you to do, you do it the best that it can possibly be done. You do it with a damn smile on your fucking face. You go, yeah, man, give me that mop. You want me to sweep the floor? Be the best damn sweeper they've ever seen in their life. You invent ways to sweep the floor. You invent ways for it to get cleaner and better. They ask you to stack freaking computers at 2 a.m. in the back for the next big sale today. You're like, boom, you're there at 1:50, 10 minutes early, ready to stack and inventing ways to stack it. Because here's why. How you are here is how you are everywhere. If you go there and you half-ass it, you just show up when they ask you to just to get a paycheck, there's no way in hell you're going to make it in a commission business. No way. Because you don't know how. You don't know how. Not that you don't know the business. It's that you don't know how to work. You don't know how to give the effort that it takes to have what you truly want. But we can learn that. Those of you listening, you're in that dead end job or you're in something that you hate. Who cares? Teach yourself how to be great, because that stacks, that translates, right? There's so much more to that than anything else. Those are the lessons through that I learned, is saying, oh man, doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what they want me to do. Just do it as well as I can possibly do it. Take pride in what you're doing, because that pride, that kind of thing translates into every other aspect of your life.
Wow, dude, I'm just like full on chills. That's so true. And one of my favorite Dale Carnegie quotes, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the quote memorized, but it says something like, the very best thing you can do to prepare for the future is do everything you can today to the best of your ability. And I love that you made it, whatever task it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're washing the dishes or whether you're playing in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. If you give it that full attention and do the best you can, stack that on top of each other, like you said, over time, that's growth. That's the yet mentality. Right. That's growth mindset. And then you look back and you learn the magic maybe wasn't in the performance. The magic was in the practice. The magic was in the 78th ball on a rainy day that you didn't want to hit another goddamn soaked tennis ball, but you did. And that's the money. That's where the goodness happens. And so many people, train for the marathon, they train for the bodybuilding contest, they get on stage, they go to the finish line, and they're let down because they realize it wasn't that. They were focused on the outcome without focusing on the process. And that's I know you're into stoicism as well. That's one of my favorite stoic practices, is to look at the things that I can't control and the things I can't control. And when you start to look at all the things you can control, which maybe isn't a lot, but you give it that full time and attention, you can't be disappointed. You're going to succeed every time.
Yeah, man. I love that. Right. And I can say that as well. And I think that's a big miss in any endeavor, is that we think that's where the happiness or fulfillment lies in achievement. It never lies there, right? You finish that race or you hit that home run or whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, it feels good for a moment. And then guess what? You're going to lay in that bed and you're going to shut your eyes and you're going to wake up tomorrow and I got to do it all over again. And you're like, oh shit. But just like you said, it's that moment though, where you can realize that the goal is not what we want. It's who we become in the process. If people can realize that, it's not the achievement, it's who you become. Just like that kid. And I'm happy to report that not only did he smash it there, like 2 weeks in, they wanted to make him a manager. And he's like, now what do I do? Right. Now they're like, and now all the little guys that were, sneaking out on their 5-minute break, smoking weed, by the trash can are all pissed off. Cause they're like, whoa, we didn't realize it could get done like this. Right. Cause you're screwing up the curve here, son. Right. But I told them, you just keep going, be honest with them. Say, what does that look like? what is this? Is it, what do you want from me? And maybe you can offer the services without having to take a title, right? Because it's not somewhere where you want to end up. And today, man, he's got his own personal business flourishing. He's actually got an ancillary business on top of his real estate business, and he's just killing it. He's going to be one of the 30 under 30, and one of the top publications for real estate. Like it's amazing to see. And it all comes back to just what you said, right? Is understanding that the goal is not the goal. It's what you learn and who you become in the process.
Man, I love that. I know you can't answer this for other people. You can't really answer it for him, but it's something I'm sure you noticed, where you're coming up in baseball and probably competing with a lot of people that had a lot more natural talent that maybe didn't have to work quite as hard as you did. Or again, this guy that you're talking about, like he had to go through a process of learning how to work hard to get what he wanted in life. Could you tell that it tasted better once he got it? Once you were there, was it more meaningful to you than to other people who maybe didn't have to work as hard?
You're right. I can't answer that because I can't speak for them and what it tastes like for them. I can tell you that what I can tell you is that there are many, many, many way more talented kids and then, men that I played with and against that didn't get as far. And it wasn't because of talent, and because it was simply because of work ethic. And the one thing I'll say to that is, most people give up before talent is the limiting factor. You see, at the younger ages and as we're growing in anything that you do, right? I mean, let's just choose, right? You're a basketball guy, right? Like, were you ever going to be as tall, as fast, as whatever as, Kobe, right? The answer is no. But
damn you, Dad. Damn you.
But here's the thing that we have to understand is that even with those talents per se that we're given, right, is he still missed more shots than he made, right? The story when he when he airballs, when they put the ball in his hand for the first time in the playoffs and he airballs it. And they get back to the locker room and they do all the stuff and everybody's looting and he's putting on his practice gear. And they're like, what are you doing? Right? We don't have a meaningful game or even a meaningful practice for months. And he went that night and he shot 1,000 balls from that spot. And then again, and then again. And he still wasn't it wasn't the greatest. Well, my point though is that his talent had reached its peak. His talent was there. All those guys were as talented, all of them. Now it became who was going to work harder, who was going to put in the work when nobody's watching, who's willing to go to those depths. Who is it? Because those are the ones that keep rising. And I know that's in sport and it's all those things, but every human has that ability. That's not special. You getting your ass out of bed every day and putting in the work, you getting up when you say you're going to get up, you preparing food when you say you're going to prepare food, you showing up to work early, you putting in, that's not special. You see the difference. The difference is we're conditioned to just get by. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what they want you to do. They want you to do. That's what they want. They want you to just skate by, live paycheck to paycheck. Again, they want you to say, I hate Mondays. They want you to high five your buddy for, hump day Wednesday. They want you to leave early for work. So they're cutting back. Happy hour starts now at 3 instead of 5, right? Because that's what they want you to do. That's where they need you. Because they know you're not creating the world. You're not changing. And then you wake up, right? The Monday hangover, here we go again. man, that's conditioning. That's not how life is meant to be lived, man. Right? You hear people say this all the time, right? Is that, well, you only die once. No, you die once. You live every damn day. Every day you get to pick it up. And guess what? I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. There are days where I screw it up, right? There are days where, it's a birthday party and I'm going to go have some beers with my buddy and celebrate him. And I'm going to eat some of the cake, right? And, it's going to happen, right? But I'm going to tell you this, the trick, ladies and gentlemen, you ready for the life hack, which I hate that shit. There is no such thing. Life hack is get your ass up. That's the life hack. But here's the thing. You want it is this. Just know this. Even if you screw it up today, you ate something bad, or you didn't get up on time, or whatever it is, whatever it is that set you off to go, man, here I go again, right? You're one day, you're one moment, you're one good workout away from being back on track. You're one good meal from being back on track. You're one good, damn it, I got out of bed when I said I would, back on track. It doesn't take a million of them. It takes one. And we want the end result. We want the end result, right? I want this end result, whatever it is. But guess what? I had to take that first step first. So just remember, you're like, oh shit, I screwed it up. That's okay. And let me tell you this, don't wait for Monday. People are like, oh, I'm going to start going to the gym. Yeah, it's a good idea, man. I'm going to go on Monday. I'm like, bro, it's Tuesday. What's wrong with tomorrow? What's wrong with Thursday? What's wrong with Friday? What's wrong with Saturday? What's wrong with Sunday? What the hell I got to wait for Monday for? Right? That doesn't make any sense. Or my favorite is next month, dude, next month. And I'm like, bro, it's the 8th. We got it's the 22nd, right? It's like, dude, what? No. Change happens. Change is happening whether you like it or not, right? Change is inevitable. It's happening right now before your eyes. Your skin, your hair, everything about you is changing right now, right as we speak. So remember, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. Your choice.
Yeah. Dude, I totally love that. That's phenomenal. I think also with change, it can sometimes happen all at once and really shake things to the core. And you're right. You always have the opportunity to choose something better. And we experience resistance whenever we try to up level our life. Whenever we try to get better, there's always a resistance we have to push through. And I just want to ask you, in the context of knowing that resistance, I want to know the why behind optimal self, because optimal self did not need to be created for anything in your life. I assume your real estate company is very successful, probably financially you were taken care of. Why did you decide to start optimal self?
Thank you for that question, by the way. I love it. Very rarely get asked that. And thank you for that. Let me just say it to you this way is I'm 50 years old now, and I've been very fortunate, again, through persistence, through grit, through perseverance, to meet people, to talk to people, to have coaches, to have mentors, to sit in rooms and listen. And I take a lot of notes and I implemented a lot of things. And same thing, I was coaching a kid, different kid, a few years ago. And he was in a bind, called me. He's like, hey, I know our coaching call isn't till Thursday. It's like Monday. He said, do you have a minute? I know your schedule is super booked. And I said, listen, here's what's happening. I'm going to be leaving one office. I'm driving to the other office. It's a 22-minute commute. When I get in the car, I will call you. I can't do a Zoom or anything like that. If you need me to look over a contract or something like that. He's like, no. I just have, it's more personal. I said, sure. So we get on and we went through. And so I get to the next, and we're about I'm about halfway there, and we're having this same kind of conversation that you and I are having now. We're talking, going through, and we were discussing how do I get back on track? I'm off track, right? I've made some poor choices, right? My fiance isn't happy with me. There's a lot of these things that are happening, right? Like, and so we went through it, and we talked about the similar thing that we talked about earlier about it has to do with your effort. There's no such thing as average people, only average effort. Everybody has the ability. It's just a matter if you're willing to put it in. So there's no average people, just average effort. So we finished that conversation, and I was pulling up, and he said, "Oh man," he's like, "I wish we had this on Zoom." He goes, "Jeremy, this needs to be out there." He's like, "You need to have, a podcast, a YouTube channel. Like, this is like," and I was like, "What do you mean?" It was like, "Do you mean, what part of that didn't you understand that you should be taking notes?" Right. Cause I'm thinking he's talking about himself. He wants to talk about it again. And I'm like, and he's like, no, not for me. He said, "There's somebody out there that's just like me, that could be anywhere in the world, that deserves and probably needs to hear this. And I'm the only one who got to hear this today. And that's a shame." And it hit me, and I was like, right? Like, he slugged me in the gut. I was like, wow, that's very true. One-on-one is not enough. And there are people that poured into me in times of need. There were people that poured in me in when I was at my lowest of lows, right? And I refused to go to my grave with that information inside of me. So I had to build something where I could pour that information out of me, and that people could hear it, people could get it. We could put together courses, we could get together plans. And so my mission became to help and inspire people to change behavior through belief and action, so they can be the best versions of themselves. Not the best version of me, not the best version of them, not the best version of their mom, right? The best version of themselves. But I said it, right? You have to change behavior, which you can throw in habits. You can throw in whatever word you want there. There's a few words that could be transposed, but it's only through belief and action that you will get there. And so Optimal Self was born. I started writing it. I started getting my notes that are crazy. I have journals all over the place. So I started getting them together, trying to put my thoughts together, right? So that it made sense, so that there was an order, and there were some principles, and there were some absolutes that have changed my life. And so that's how it all became. And I just said, man, I cannot go to my grave with this inside of me. It had, like, my job, and I'll say it to you, Casey, this way, is that I tell people, imagine right now, if you're listening, just close your eyes for a second and imagine that there's a body of water, whatever, a lake, an ocean, whatever, and it's just perfect glass. It's just just perfect. And then you pick up this little tiny pebble and you drop it in there. When that thing hits, you can watch it go forever, right? The ripple effect. My job now is when I drop that ripple effect starts, that somebody is going to listen to this, whether it's here today on your radio show, or it's through Optimal Self, or they come into our program, or they get into our private Facebook group, and then they get to drop theirs, and it gets to keep going because somebody poured into me. I want people to understand this. I didn't write this shit. I didn't invent it. None of it. I can just tell you what I've learned from other people, from experiences, and I want to share it, and I want to give it to people so that they can implement it. So hopefully they can change their life, and they can leave better habits. We call it, in Optimal Self, we call it generational habits, right? We talk a lot. For probably most of my adult life, I have been building generational wealth. I want my girls, and I want their kids to be able to say, "Oh, that's the great grandpa Jeremy left us that building," right? Like, those are things that I used to, that I want, but I want more today than anything, is because here's the thing. What I've learned is generational wealth by the second and third generation, most of the time, is gone. It's completely gone. But here's why, is because the person who built the wealth is gone. He only passed, or she only passes on the wealth. They don't pass on the habits that it took to get the wealth. So I want to be able to sit back and help people create habits that are everlasting, that can change their life. And it's not about making money, right? But it is about the fact of what that can do for you, right? Joe Polish has a great, I don't know if you've ever seen him. If anyone, you've ever have a chance and you want to get in a room with him, do it. He's amazing. I'd never forget it, man. It was one of the first seminars I ever went to, and he was speaking, and he said, have you ever heard people say, money's the root of all evil, or money can't buy happiness? And, everybody's looking around. They're like, yeah, I heard that shit. I've heard that. Right. And he goes, anybody who says that has not given away enough. And I was like, whoa, man, what a different perspective that is. Right. What a different perspective. And I was like, I get it. It's not about the money. It's about what you can do with it. Right. Don't go make 100 million and go buy a Bentley. Right. Go build a school, or build, dig wells, or find ways to help your, maybe, retire your mom or your dad, or your, somebody who's meant a lot to you. Right. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And, again, being your optimal self. And I want to give people the avenue to do it, whatever that is to them, whatever yours is, we'll support it. Let's get after it.
Man, I love that. That's so good. I personally had to really reconcile that in my own personal self. It was always an or, like you either had a lot of money or you were a good person. And it took a long time to realize there's an and in there, and money is very helpful and can be used as a tool in the right hands. I love that mindset. I'm going to remember that quote and definitely steal it from both of you.
It's yours, buddy. It's not mine. I stole it from Joe. So I always try to give him the credit, for sure.
That's great. Oh man, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about belief. We talked about this earlier. What does the power of belief mean to you?
Okay. So like I said, with the mission statement, right, is to help and inspire people to change behavior through belief and action. And I'll give it to you this way, since I'm sure since you're a fitness guy, and you build a plan for somebody, right? Let's talk about belief for a second. What I say it is this: somebody comes to us and says, hey, I need to lose 50 pounds, or, I need to train because I want to do this, that, the other thing. We can sit down and create the plan. People come to me all the time, like, hey, I want to make $1 million. I'm like, okay, let's sit down. Like, let's take your business. Let's look at your sales, right? I can help you figure this out. We can map a plan, right? And I always say, now I have this coin here. It's called belief. There's two sides to this coin. Side number one, right? Here's the plan, right? Let's take fitness, for instance. We have the meal plan now. Those are all things. Your food allergies are good. This is good. All right. We've checked it out. You can move well, right? We looked at all your impingements and things. So we have a plan now that for movement. So you're going to have this. So here's the plan. Do you believe this plan? Again, let's go to belief. Do you believe this plan will work? Do you believe this plan will get you where you want to go? Almost without fail, 99.99999% say, yes, I believe in that plan. Yes. Hell yeah, Jeremy. If I eat like that and I train that and I see you 3 times a week and I do this, yeah, hell yeah, we're going to get there. And they're even motivated. They're like, whoa, yeah, let's do this. That plan is going to work. So hold on now, because there's another side of this coin called belief. Now, do you believe that you are worthy and capable and deserving of that goal? Do you believe you're worthy of it? Do you believe you're deserving of it? Do you believe you're capable of executing that plan? You see, because our limiting belief is never in the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the diets and things like that are out there. Most of those work. Almost all of the fitness plans and apps that you see, if you follow it, they work. The problem is that we haven't reconciled with ourselves if we are deserving of those results, if we are worthy of it, if we are capable of the execution. That's the belief. And again, it's okay to say, oh my gosh, no, I don't feel like it, right? You get somebody that says they want to make $1 million and you show them how to make it. It's not the plan. The plan works. Ladies and gentlemen, the plan works. It's because they don't believe they're worthy of that $1 million business. They don't believe they're the ones that deserve it. So again, it's not that it's not possible. It's that we have to get to the root, right? We got to get away from Western medicine, Western society that we want to treat symptoms, right? You know what you're treating? They're selling you the plan. That's the symptom. They got everything. Turn on your Instagram right now. There's somebody selling you something, right? Because they're selling you the symptom. They're like, hey, you have this problem. Guess what? I got it right here, right here, right here. But it's the symptom. What I'm talking about is we get to the cause. Because again, I have those limiting beliefs. I've had them many, many times. I have to fight them. And you know how I fight them is when I don't believe I'm worthy of that. When I see the sales come in and when I see all this going on and, you so graciously said, over 100 5-star reviews and all these people and you're getting all these calls, right? There's a moment that goes, am I worthy of that? Am I? And then you know how you fix it is you get up the next day and you prove it to yourself because you have to prove it every day that I'm worthy of it. I'm going to get up and do it again. I'm going to be the best version of me. What does that guy look like? Let's do him again. Okay, let's do him again. And let's do him again. Let's string a few days together and some weeks together. Let's string it and then a month and then a few months and then a quarter. Holy shit. Then a year. And you're like, wow, this transformation is unbelievable. But all it is that first day, right? What we talked about in the beginning, it's that first moment that gets me there. Because once that happens, and here's what I want people to get with that is that I say the word confidence because a lot of people will tell you, oh, he's just not confident. They're not confident, right? But here, confidence is only earned. There is no other way to get it. You have to earn it. Self-confidence, you have to prove to self. So when I say I'm going to do something, I got to get my ass up and do it. Because every time you don't, that's a vote to say, no, you're not good enough. Not even what your mom told you, your dad told you, or that third grade teacher that told you weren't going to amount to shit, whatever. We all have it. We all have baggage. But it's not that baggage that's holding you back right now. It's the internal narrative of me not standing up for me, not fighting for that. And what that means is you set that alarm and it goes off and you go, snooze. Yep. Vote of confidence. Guess what? You're not good enough. You're telling yourself. It's not the third grade teacher that told you you're not going to amount to shit. It's not that, my birth father who was a jackass and, whatever. It's not because I can prove them all wrong. But when that fucking alarm goes off, I get my ass up and I go do what I said I was going to do. Sorry. I don't know if it's PG here, but I got to get up and prove it to myself, not to anybody else, And when you start doing that and you start stringing some of those days together, man, the world is at your feet. I'll say it to you this way. One of the quotes in Optimal Self, as we say, is this: the moment that you take responsibility for everything in your life, everything, where you live, your bank account, your job, whatever, your spouse, you take responsibility for everything, every grade you ever got, every team you didn't get on, every single thing you take responsibility for. The moment you'll do that, you unlock your power to have anything you want. So just again, the moment you take responsibility for everything in your life, you unlock your own human power to have anything in your life because now you're in control. You're literally ripping back the control of, oh shit, I get to be the architect of my future. I get to be the author of the story. I'm writing that shit. Nobody else. Nobody else. I'm writing this next chapter, and I'm glad that you're part of it.
I'll tell you what I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have listened to your podcast all day in preparation for this interview and then done this interview, because now I'm like so inspired. I want to go like find a grizzly bear to go wrestle or something. This is so good. So good. There have been so many great gems of wisdom that you've left us. And Jeremy, if you just had to choose one thing that you'd want the listener to walk away from this conversation with, what would that be?
Yeah, I would. It's the same thing that I would tell my younger self is you have to be the architect of your self-worth. Nobody can give you that. Nobody, not your mom, not your dad, not your teacher, not your mentors. And I've had some great ones. Nobody can give you that. They can help you along the way, but nobody can give you your self-worth. Only you. So go create it and go be it.
Love it. Jeremy Herider, what an amazing conversation this has been. Super empowering and inspiring. Where would you like people to go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Optimalself.today. All the social handles are there. And you can DM me on any of them, Optimal Self. You can find me anywhere, man. So, but if they head over to optimalself.today, that'd be great. There's a free identity creator course in there for them. And we'd love to have them part of the community and help them in any way we can.
Man, that's awesome. Jeremy, thank you so much for everything that you've done and the lessons that you've learned, the success and the failure, the belief, the growth. All of it is just so empowering and inspiring. And I go back to the dedication we made. I really hope that somebody is out there that hears this and is more empowered to take that step, to start with today, to use what they have, to work with the resources they have, to get to, enjoy the process. And you were such a great example of that. And we're so grateful for you and grateful for your time to appear on our show today. So thank you very, very much.
No, man, it's the other way. Thank you, because without you, this doesn't take place. So I appreciate you very much. And I look forward to your show just blowing up, man, and more people getting more help. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's been an honor for sure. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.